Hello, this is Blue. Today I will be talking about Silent Hill Homecoming, and we'll start out with a story to give you just a little bit of an insight as to the type of feel that this game has. I'll give you a rundown the first few seconds that you're going to experience with this game. You start out with a cinema in first-person view, and it's of our character Alex. It's from his eyes looking up, and you pretty much figure out that it's some kind of a hospital as you're being wheeled down this hallway, strapped down to a gurney. Alex is obviously confused, which I think sets the atmosphere up pretty well for the player. As we listen to Alex panic, we see him glance into a few of the rooms, and you catch glimpses of the different horrific things that are going on inside. Now pay close attention to this. It's not that it's there to freak you out necessarily, it's actually foreshadowing the game really heavily. And I really love that because it just ties the whole thing together, but you don't necessarily really even realize it until you're almost done with the game. Or, like me, I didn't notice it until I started back over on a brand new game once I was done. Overall, I really enjoyed the fact that the game focused on Alex and the strange relationship with his family. There's an underlying goal of finding his younger brother, which is a really nice change of pace because in most of the other Silent Hill titles, you were searching for your significant other or you were looking for a child, and I found myself able to bond with Alex in a way that kind of connected me with him and let me become immersed in his world, and it made it easier to have my emotions invested in the story, and the actions that it forces him to take really made a bigger impact than I felt it did with a lot of the other games. The character Alex, I feel, was really well voice acted, really well written, and that went a really long way for me as well. You'll experience Alex's hometown of Shepherd's Glen, visiting several different landmarks that, of course, have fog and, monsters everywhere. That's pretty normal. You've seen that before. There's a lot of nostalgia to look out for as well, such as the recognizable save point symbol and Robbie the Rabbit. As for the gameplay, this is the first game in the series where you actually feel like you're in control of the situation when it comes to fighting creatures that are lurking around in Silent Hill. They changed the battle schematics quite a lot from the previous titles. They made it to where you can quickly and accurately attack your enemies with several unique weapons with different abilities for each weapon. They aren't without limitations, but the fighting feels more smooth and flawless. You tell Alex to swing, and he swings. It's very responsive. It's arguable that the clunky battle system was, in part, what made the older games so terrifying, but I don't think that it takes away from the charm that the series originally gave us. They definitely took a step in the right direction with the combat. There are plenty of puzzles of varying difficulty to deal with during the span of the game. They usually don't take away from the gameplay and are solvable if you pay attention to your environment and just take the time to look around a little bit. Collectors will love this game. Anyone who likes to look under objects and go kind of off the beaten path to find the different things. There are a couple of achievements or trophies, depending on which system you're playing on, that you can earn by finding all of the Polaroid photographs and finding all of the health kits. So that'll add some gameplay to it as well. You can actually interact with the Polaroid photos, and they will give you a little bit of a text, and they'll actually depict something that will connect the dots of your story. You'll also get an extra piece added onto your ending if you find them all, and it's definitely well worth it. There are 5 different endings to earn, based heavily on the decisions that you make throughout the game, most of which are in the last half. The endings are, as always, up for interpretation as to which one you feel is the real or most accurate one. They even brought back the joke alien ending, which isn't very gratifying for all of your hard work, but it does provide a blaster pistol, and you can use that on your next playthrough. Even though the actual game is fairly short, sitting at about an 8-hour completion time, I would say there's a moderately high reason to play through it at least one more time, not only for the extra endings, but for the extra costumes as well. There are 5 of those, one of which gives a nod to protagonist Travis Grady from Silent Hill Origins, who you'll also see briefly towards the beginning of the game. I enjoyed the monsters in this title a great deal. They accurately reflected Alex and his psychological issues, and for the lack of a better term, they made sense versus some of the other titles that seem to just make up monsters for the sake of making up monsters. You'll understand what I mean as you uncover more about our protagonist as a person, making the twisted monsters that you encounter all the more terrifying, especially the boss battles. However, you will recognize a couple of reoccurring monsters, such as the nurses, as well as a monster called Boogeyman, which you could call Alex's rendition of Silent Hill 2's Pyramid Head. They are very similar. Now, the music is by the same composer that did all the previous Silent Hill titles. I'm not real sure how to pronounce his name, but I'm going to give it a shot. Akira Yamaoka. He returned to this title, and that means we have this intense, haunting, terrifying sound, which we've come to expect. But I felt like this soundtrack really grabs you inside and shakes you around to your core. If there's a soundtrack to mental depravity, this would be it. As far as the graphics go, I thought the graphics for this game were awesome. This is the first title in the series to make it to the next generation, so this is where they could do something a little bit different with this game and make it look real sharp. And the monsters are grosser, the blood is more realistic, and the light to dark ratio is incredible. The monsters even take battle damage, showing gaping wounds where you hit them. One of my most favorite things about this game is actually the transition from the real world into the other world. It's absolutely flawless. You hear that creepy siren, and the walls and the floors, all of a sudden everything around you just start to change over right in front of you. It is gorgeous. Overall, I found this game to be psychologically thrilling, intense, stressful, lonely, and sad. All of the things that you would expect from a Silent Hill title. In spite of the flack that it's received from other Silent Hill veterans, I'm not afraid to say that this title shares my prestigious #1 spot with Silent Hill 2.